Hey, it's the O Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, CW, and today we're going to ramble on for 10 minutes about Karrion Kross and Bray Wyatt. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, CW. Make sure to hit that bell on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the podcast on any and all platforms. Thank you so much once again. I appreciate you and your time. Let's get into it. Karrion Kross and Bray Wyatt, two hot commodities coming into 2022. They were very much lauded as great pickups for Triple H's new WWE Creative direction. We're in the beginnings. We're in Q1, let's call it, if we want to be business savvy. We're Q1 of 23, and so far, both of those pickups haven't truly panned out. And honestly, they're both kind of in the same boat with, I would say, Karrion Kross at the front of the boat, steering it a little better. They're both spooky characters, if you want to call it that. They're both, you know, they're atmospheric. They lean on their gimmick of, you know, having mystique and this sort of aura about them. Bray Wyatt leans into the spooky a little bit more. His supernatural-esque storytelling is, you know, a point of contention over a lot of fans. A lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. Many people just don't understand it. Whereas Karrion Kross is a bit easier to understand in his spookiness. He's more, I mean, he has Scarlett, his wife, to help him. But a lot of his spookiness, it comes from his promos before or, you know, after a match or something. And Karrion Kross, for all his bluster, no, that's not the right word. For everything Karrion Kross does, he is really, really good on the mic, as is Bray Wyatt. What I find myself kind of leaning towards, which is Karrion Kross, I find myself leaning towards Karrion Kross more because his promos make sense in a way that a human would talk to another human. Whereas Bray Wyatt, for the past, 6 or 7 months that he's been doing that promo with Uncle Howdy, you know, cutting promos at LA Knight, where LA Knight, everything he said made a whole lot of sense. He's like, I don't understand what you're talking about. I just want to fight you. And then Bray Wyatt would come out and just say the most random gobbledygook. He would say a promo and nothing would be said. And then they would cut the lights off, and then some goofy dude in a ridiculous mask would come out and just kind of twirl his hands for a bit. And then they would cut to commercial, where, you know, Karrion Kross will say stuff like, you know, I wanted kids. I thought about it, and then I saw how Dominic treats you, Ray, and that thank you. That put it on the shelf. I don't want kids anymore. You've you've beat it out of me. Where a promo like that makes a whole lot more sense for the program that he's trying to run. That being said, I feel like they're both in the same boat because the spooky gimmick or whatever direction that they're headed in isn't working the way that I think the creative team wants it to work. Bray Wyatt has gotten way over, but there is a large portion of the fan base who are like, well, is he going to wrestle? You know, he did the pitch black Mountain Dew Code Red double suplex match in the dark. And while, you know, I guess the gimmick was okay, it was just a branded match, which was already goofy on top of a already goofy goofy program he was working with LA Knight. But the match wasn't so much of a match as it was them just kind of bumping around the ring a little bit, and not in the ring, literally around the ring. A couple wrestling moves were made. It was a very fast affair. And then it ended with that very strange elbow drop from whatever the hell that was onto LA Knight from Uncle Bunkle. And yeah, since then, I mean, LA Knight hasn't been on TV, and he's become another casualty of Bray Wyatt, where the person's character just kind of gets assassinated in their angles. And it really does, I think it does come down to Bray Wyatt's angles really only benefit him, because all the spooky stuff doesn't elevate the other wrestler. It just makes him and his character look stronger or weirder or whatever. But people are way more interested in that aspect of the storyline than the opponent. And it always comes down to like, well, he's going to beat that guy. Same thing happened to Seth Rollins with that big red match. And I think we've said before, it's less Vince and it's probably more Bray Wyatt now, because all these gimmick matches that he ends up in all seem to kind of have to do with lights and how the ring is lit and what's in the ring. Like when he had that wrestling match with Randy Orton and they projected all the bugs on the floor as if Randy Orton would be able to tell what it looked like from his perspective. They had to cut the camera up way high to show the maggots on the canvas, but it was a projection. How would Randy even see it? Like if the projection's that big, the ring is really big. If he looks down, he's not going to see anything specific. He's not going to see any details, but he had to like fall down and writhe. It was a goofy match. But all those goofy matches, I don't know if it was someone ribbing him, but it seems like they are his idea. And I think they need to pull him back and be like, hey man, can you just wrestle? He needs to cut down the spooky about 25% and cut up the wrestling. Just turn up the wrestling, that extra 25%. And let's just get him in the ring and start beating people up. And I think that's the issue. We loved Bray Wyatt as the Eater of Worlds because he, for all the promos he cut, which were all wonderful, he wrestled a lot more. He was actually, participating. Again, at that time, he was losing a bunch, but at least he was wrestling. And his promos made sense, and he had his faction, and he had the rocking chair. It was great. So let's get back to something like that. Whereas Karrion Kross is kind of in that mode where he does wrestle. He does have output. He goes to the ring and he kicks people's ass. And I appreciate that. And I think Karrion Kross is a great talent. Both Bray Wyatt and Karrion Kross were targeted by Freddie Prinze Jr. for his upcoming wrestling promotion. He had them both pegged as his first champs. I think his first choice was Karrion Kross as a champ. And then when Karrion got picked up, he was like, oh, well, I want, Wyndham. And then Wyndham got picked up. So now he's on his third choice, he said, or whatever, however he framed it. I don't want to make it seem like whoever he gets as his champ is a backup, but it is. So they were both at least in the wrestling realm. They're hot commodities, and now they're in WWE, and I feel like they're slowly falling down the card. Now Bray Wyatt is kind of taking a shot at either Bobby Lashley or Brock Lesnar for WrestleMania. Both, I want him to stay away from both of them. The last thing I want is some goofy supernatural match against Brock Lesnar, where honestly Brock Lesnar should go over, or Bobby Lashley. I don't think Bobby Lashley's character or his legacy can take a Bray Wyatt match. I think Bobby Lashley would be served the worst in that. I think Brock Lesnar's pedigree and his ability to just kind of laugh off stuff these days, you notice he just kind of does these big boisterous laughs, and it just kind of endears him to the fans. I think a goofy match like that, he would walk into, laugh it off, win or lose, and then just go home and just be like, all right, that was whatever, and he'd be fine. But I don't think Bobby Lashley's promo skills aren't strong enough for him to talk his way out of some match like that. So whoever Bray ends up wrestling at WrestleMania, and as of this recording, SmackDown is tonight. It is February 24th, so it's going to be a nice Friday night SmackDown. So hopefully we'll find out more, and hopefully it's not either one of them. Hopefully he wrestles Karrion Kross. How about that? How about they go up against each other and try to spook each other out, which would be hilarious. Oh, I should have done a whole episode on Bray Wyatt versus Karrion Kross and what that program could be. Maybe that's my next episode. Anyway, what do you guys think of Bray Wyatt and Karrion Kross's characters, and how are they doing, and where do you want them to go? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to hit that bell again, subscribe, tell your friends and family about the episodes that I've been doing. I'll catch you guys next time. Remember, I'm your friend.
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah.